Introducing Industrial Hemp, the miracle fiber.
Did you know that there's a plant strong enough to replace plastic, oil, and building materials? That the same plant has been cultivated for industrial purposes for over 12,000 years. Yet it's been classified as a Schedule I controlled substance drug by the US government. Nope, not marijuana, hemp. So let's backtrack a little bit and talk about what hemp actually is. Throughout human existence, hemp has been used as an important source of fuel, clothing, shelter, and even food for people all over the world.
What if I told you that there was a miracle plant? One that had over 25,000 uses, from rope to clothes to concrete to medicine. A plant that grew quick and tall, that dug its roots deep into the dirt and sequestered tons of carbon back into the soil while sucking up polluting metals back out of it. Could you guess what it is? I'll give you a hint. It's been demonized for its association with its cousin, weed. That's right, this miracle plant is hemp. Hemp, a non-psychoactive strain of the cannabis plant, seems like it can do everything. It's one of the fastest growing plants on the planet. It's able to sequester 15 tons of carbon dioxide into the soil per hectare and crowds out weeds to such an extent that very little herbicide is needed to grow it successfully. When implemented in a crop rotation, hemp can be a boon to farmers. But hemp's benefits don't end on the farm. As I mentioned earlier, according to the USDA, it has over 25,000 uses. Its seeds are nutrient dense and can be eaten raw or made into milk or oils. Its stalks can be used to make fiber that's stronger, more absorbent, more durable, and better insulating than cotton. And if clothing isn't what you need, then you can make hemp paper or even hemp concrete. That's right, concrete.
In the early 20th century, hemp competed heavily with the cotton and paper industry. Because paper made from trees had to compete against environmentally friendly hemp products, the paper industry was at risk to suffer. So, William Hearst, a New York State congressman and one of the biggest newspaper publishers in America, launched a campaign against hemp. He used his publication to smear the public's perception of the crop, which at the same time was threatening his successful paper company. In fact, this very campaign is where the term yellow journalism derived from. But this was in the 1920s. How is the propaganda still working today? Because the threat hemp poses isn't limited to paper. Reviving the industry could potentially devastate the profits of huge corporations that manufacture lumber, fossil fuels, steel, alcohol, and even food, among many other things, including this. In 1941, Henry Ford even built a car made almost entirely from hemp. The frame of the car was 12 times lighter than steel and 10 times stronger. Not only that, but the car was powered by hemp seed oil. Do I even have to explain the threat that this technology would pose to giant oil companies? Processed hemp also creates one of the strongest fibers we know of, providing all natural materials to build homes, ships, trains, planes, and automobiles, and practically indestructible clothing. Furthermore, hemp seed oil can be made into lotions and skin creams. The practical applications for this plant are limitless, and the reason it remains illegal is simple. It's just one giant push to preserve the profits of corporations that poison our planet, destroy our forests, and bankrupt the world. You still might be confused because of years of being brainwashed to think that hemp is exactly the same as marijuana, or that its close association with it must classify it as a drug. But this couldn't be farther from the truth. Just check out the Congressional Research Service report on hemp that states, quote, although marijuana is also a variety of cannabis, it is genetically distinct from industrial hemp, and it is further distinguished by its use and chemical makeup. So, hemp is genetically distinct from the drug, marijuana. In fact, if you smoked an entire garbage bag full of hemp, you wouldn't get high. Yet the plant remains illegal under U.S. federal law. And like I said before, not because it's a danger to people, but because it's a danger to corporations.
And all of this is just the tip of the iceberg. There are many more applications like insulation that can be made from hemp. So if hemp can fulfill so many needs, then why isn't it all over the place now? Back in 8000 BCE, Mesopotamians were weaving hemp cord into pottery. That's right, hemp was getting used as far back as 10,000 years ago. In fact, the plant is one of the first cultivated crops. In China, hemp has been continuously cultivated for over 6,000 years, with farmers first converting the crop into textiles and then later in 150 BCE into some of the first paper. And from the paper of the Magna Carta to the very sails that brought the violence of colonialism to the shores of North America, hemp has been part of history. In fact, the early days of the United States were marked by an intensive hemp economy. In 1535, King Henry VIII of England required farmers to sow at least a quarter acre of their land with hemp, because at the time, 80% of clothing was made from hemp. As a result, the American colonial project partly developed on the back of hemp. But it's here in the early years of the 20th century that we begin to see the last threads of the American hemp industry wither away. The American hemp industry was struggling in 1919. Steam engines were replacing hemp sails, cotton was overshadowing hemp clothes, and there was not yet an industrialized mechanism to keep up with the advances of logging and alternative textile industries. But that year, a promising development appeared on the horizon. A man named G.W. Schlichten took out a patent for a machine that would reduce the labor required to produce hemp by a factor of 100. Essentially, it was a hemp version of the cotton gin. Everything was ready for an American hemp boom. The tools were there, the crops were sown, and then because of stoked up racist anti-Mexican and anti-Chinese fears of weed, states like California and Texas outlawed recreational use of the drug. And as a result, hemp's association with its psychoactive cousin gave investors cold feet.
Marijuana, the burning weed with its roots in hell.
The campaign was rumored to have been partially driven by newspaper tycoon William Randolph Hearst's fear of hemp overtaking traditional papermaking operations, as well as the fossil fuel chemical company DuPont's desire to crush any resurgence of hemp that would threaten to compete with their new plastic fiber invention, nylon. Reefer madness ruthlessly villainized weed, and through association, hemp. Steeped in racism and fear-mongering, the campaign was largely a success in the eyes of its conservative creators, and by 1937, the Marijuana Tax Act was implemented, which placed a heavy tax on the sales of any cannabis product, including hemp products. The tax and the plant's stiff competition left hemp farmers withering. But now, in 2021, a new hope is growing for the American hemp industry, one that could possibly point us towards a sustainable, plant-based future with a much smaller impact on the ground and the planet. After almost 70 years of lying dormant, the seeds of hemp are sprouting through American soils once again. As of October 2019, 46 states in the US are allowed to grow hemp for commercial purposes. Hemp was removed from its classification as a Schedule I drug and is now considered a commodity crop in the eyes of the federal government. But in order to truly live up to its potential, the hemp industry not only needs to develop much more quickly, but also expand outside the realm of CBD. Hemp concrete, hemp fuel, hemp clothing, hemp insulation, and hemp paper could all potentially replace their current counterparts. Because if cultivated properly, hemp could change the world.
Everything plastic can be made from hemp, and plastic made from hemp is biodegradable. Some of the benefits of hemp plastic are that it is non-toxic, it is pesticide-free, it's recyclable, it is biodegradable, and it is 3.5 times stronger than common polypropylene. By converting hemp into plastic, an unlimited amount of byproducts can be produced that are lighter, stronger, and more durable than steel. Some uses of hemp plastic are construction material, packaging material, furniture, musical instruments, boats, car panels, shopping bags, straws, and water bottles.
Plastic is one of the most versatile materials in the world. Its use has been widely adopted for everyday use. There are a vast number of applications for plastics. Everything from toys to food containers to car parts. There's undeniably many use cases for plastic. The problem with this is that the plastics produced today are synthetic, derived from petrochemicals, commonly petroleum. This is a finite raw material which industries are extracting at alarming rates. Producing this at mass scale creates both health risks to all living creatures, as well as irreversible damage and pollution for Earth. But that is the reality we are living in. As of 2018, 335 million tons of plastics are produced globally each year, and 45% of all plastics are produced in the United States. 29% of plastics produced in the U.S. are used for packaging. The packaging market in the United States alone is worth $100 billion, a quarter of the global market.
So why choose hemp? Now there is no need for the use of common petroleum-based plastics anymore. We have come to a time in age where pollution has become a global issue and needs to be addressed before more damage is done to our environment. We have the technology to be able to produce 100% plant-derived plastics that are non-toxic, stronger, and biodegradable. If we continue to use petroleum-based plastic materials, we will see the destruction of our planet. It is a simple solution to switch over to using plant-derived polymers with hemp fibers used to reinforce them into plastics that will no further harm our environment.
You'll probably think that looks like a regular fiberglass car or even a steel car just looking at it. When you go up and you touch it and you knock on it, you'll go like, wow, that's fiberglass. But actually it's not fiberglass. We used typically about 3 plies of woven hemp, and that made it rigid enough to keep its shape.
Built by Bruce Dietzen, this stunning sports car is made from around 100 pounds of hemp, as well as being a lot lighter than fiberglass or steel. The unusual material has another impressive quality.
It's 10 times more dent resistant than steel. I'm going to do that right now.
Introducing the world's first hemp airplane.
This is the kind of future we all want here on Earth.
The possibilities are endless, and the future is in our hands.